Hello, friends, and welcome to the very first episode of Legacy Cast, where we spotlight the voices, instincts, and inner leadership of women shaping real estate and leadership in the world, shaping community and culture from the inside out. I'm Jill Liebernight. I'm the chair of the Women's Impact Network at eXp Realty. And this series is about reclaiming the stories that often go untold, stories of wisdom, transformation, and legacy. So Legacy Cast is born from a belief that women have always been building homes, careers, communities, futures, but too often our contributions are left out of the record. Well, that ends here today. Today's guest is the perfect voice to launch this series, and I'm honored to welcome Linda Alexander to the stage. Linda is a powerful presence in both real estate and the coaching world. She's not only a fellow board director at WIN, but also a leader and development coach and consultant with Success Coaching, where she helps leaders rise with clarity and authenticity. Linda brings decades of insight into how women lead and the importance of aligned growth and what it means to shape a legacy on your own terms. So, Linda, welcome, and thank you so much for saying yes to being a part of this conversation here today.
Oh, Jill, thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored, and I really appreciate it.
Well, it's been a lot of fun getting to know you through the Women's Impact Network that we serve on together. But I really wanted our community and the world to know your story. So, can you kind of kick us off a little bit and tell us the beginning, your origin story, so to speak, of what brought you into the world of leadership, coaching, and ultimately real estate?
Some would say the eldest child is predestined, to be a leader. That may be true. I'm the eldest of seven, and born in a suitcase. My father was a seismograph tester in East Texas oil fields. Maybe no, West Texas. Yeah, because every time I see landman, I see my dad. So we traveled around, and mother had like one child in every state, and I filled in a lot for her uh, while she was having another baby. So when boy, how did I? That's my very earliest origin, and fast forward to a career in business. After I did not graduate high school, I ended up getting a GED later and got into the field of finance, accounting, and and then later into computer systems. I was an early adopter of big IBM installations, and in 1969, I had worked my way from a bookkeeper to a corporate controller of a company that I took public in that year. And I also integrated 5 mergers during that year while taking the company public. And that was my introduction to really heavy duty leadership. I learned that I could lead an accounting team. And then in 1970, a group of us, 3 of us from the same company, became very disenchanted with what the president was doing. And we left. We took our stock options and left. I used part of it to begin my master's training. And the 3 of us had an office in Newport Beach. It was quite glamorous. And their portfolio was stocks. We became Dean Witter's largest traders on the West Coast at that same time. But my portfolio was investment real estate, which was a commercial and investment, and insurance. So I twiddled off to the University of Irvine, got my commercial certificate, and then got my license in real estate in California. I mostly consulted because of my financial background. I mostly consulted on restructuring syndications. A lot of friends have been into syndications in those years. And then my two partners had a falling out over, I'm not sure what, but they had a falling out, dissolved the company, and there I was. So I had worked with many of our vendors. One of them, the Coldwell Company, who is a lender, they asked me to start a commercial real estate organization. So I did. I moved my license to actually it was my own company, and I started hiring people. So I think I had about 5 investors. And fast forward on that one, I my my last commercial sale, was closed just before I left to come back home to Oregon, where I'd been since I was 18, I think. So I'd been in California for 11 years. It was time to go. And the commission, excuse me, we have Arizona spring allergies here.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry about that. Here too.
they're universally, they're very versatile. Um, so I moved back to Oregon, and the commission for my last sale in commercial real estate, which I had turned over to one of my agents, was enough to buy 15 acres and a farm in river bottom land in Oregon, not far from commercial center, of course. And I really thought about going back into real estate when I got to Oregon, and I thought about going to law school and a lot of changes. But to jump back for a second, my last sale in California was the last commercial buildable shopping center land in San Clemente, which later became, as you know, the West Coast White House, Reagan White House. So that was fun, and it was a really, really great experience working with developers and making sure commercial real estate is a challenge, and I loved it. I really loved it. I was more of an individual contributor at that time, although I did lead like 5 people. Um, I had when I was in industry before 1969. I had a big team. I had like 45 people in my accounting organization. And so I learned a lot about leadership. I also learned a lot about prejudice. Having traveled in different states on the 5 acquisitions that I made with my team, there were several times when my team said, "Would you please not sign the check at dinner?" And I went, "That's interesting." So I said, "What's the point? What's your point?" Said, "We got laughed at when you left the room. We got laughed at and teased about being whatever it was because a woman signed the check." So that was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, and these are my my young accounting team and personnel team, men and women. But it's like it never dawned on me that would be a problem. I said, "Fine, you can, I've got the budget. If you want to sign it yourself, you can pay for it." So that stopped that, and I said, just grin and bear it. We don't. That doesn't happen in California. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Probably did, but I wasn't in that environment. I had a mentor, and when we get into this farther, I can speak to that. A mentor and someone who basically told me when he promoted me to corporate controller and a corporate secretary, is I don't care if you're, white, black, red, woman, male, whatever, as long as you can do the job and you're committed to the people that you're leading, I don't care. You are you are going to succeed. His wife was one of my biggest fans, and the importance of his relationship, that relationship cannot be underestimated. It is a very profound, and it was the first time that I had had that level of sponsorship. So then when he was going to leave and another officer was going to leave, I of course was going to leave with them because the president, CEO of the company, did not think that a woman should be, and he had two daughters. He did not, I think he was in serious trouble after a while, but he did not think that a woman should be in that position. So it really didn't bother me a lot to leave. So is that kind of give
Oh,
you?
wow. Yeah. Oh, you know me, I have so many, my creative wheels are going. I have so many questions. Um, one of
That
the things,
got me to Oregon, and I did not go into real estate for much later. So several years of experience in in accounting and systems design, application design, IBM installations, a lot of years, and then um, how I got into real estate. Ultimately, it's a different story.
well, I'm always fascinated at the different paths that bring a lot of folks to real estate. It's so varied from professional athletes to school teachers like myself to people in the hospitality, people serving at restaurants or travel, you name it. And we do see a lot of systems, financial backgrounds, systems analysts that come to real estate. And I don't know if you know this, Linda, but I'm here in Austin, Texas, and IBM had a headquarters here, it still does. And back in the day, IBM was our, big new tech company on the scene. And over the years that I've been serving in real estate, I have learned that IBM was a powerhouse in providing opportunities for women to work. I worked with a lot of retired, employees of IBM, female employees that were given opportunities as single moms to work and buy homes and to do things that they hadn't had an opportunity to experience yet. So of course, I'm curious about the lessons that you have and learned in an era that some of us might not have experience or history with. What? How do you think that era or those chapters were beginning to form your powerhouse, your superpowers as an agent or your superpowers as a leader? A
All
thought
right,
leader and a coach.
very quick,
What were
very
the hardships?
yeah, very quickly. IBM. I I think it was 1969 or 70. I We installed our first computer. By the way, when I took the company public, I made 5 acquisitions in three different states. And by the way, we had to offload the ability to text or to fax information back and forth. Fax machines were operated by the corner something or other. No one had fax machines, and we were faxing financial information back and forth. So understand that I'm not only did I learn over the years, but I also must have pioneered some kind of technology. So, but IBM. So when you install a computer in those days, you bought from IBM. They sent you to something called executive school.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was in Newport Beach. Executive IBM was in San Jose. Went there. The woman hostess for each class. First of all, I was the only woman in the class of about 100. Secondly, she didn't know what to do with me because they had double units, double lodging units for the men, and she had to give me a full 2-person lodging because they had never had a woman there before. Now they had the hostess was a woman. They did not have any. The school was for all executives above the level of controller. They did not have any women facility. Just just a little tidbit about where we were in 1969, 68, 69, 70.
Yeah,
So
I wonder, did that instill any uh, new fight or new skills? Or on the flip side, did, looking back now, like decades later, like did it instill any behavior that wasn't healthy and wasn't, best in serving your strengths?
can you say that again?
Like research is providing us with a deeper understanding of how our conditioning as women has led to imposter syndrome and people pleasing and a lot of behaviors that doesn't really serve us. And like looking back decades later, do you feel like there were any behaviors that were fed or nurtured or incited during that time? Did it make you more focused on standing up and claiming your space, or did you adapt or create any uh, you know style of leadership that allowed you to blend in?
It was a struggle. I never wanted to blend in, by the way, and it was a
Not
struggle
surprised.
because of being raised in the South, and women in the South, raised in the South, have a very different demeanor, way of getting their way. Is very manipulative. I have younger sisters who perfected it to its maximum ability. My dad and I always clashed because I never would accept the fact that he could tell me what to do when I didn't agree with it. So, as an eldest child, I was not I was not normal. Yeah, I think that's according to the norms of that day. I
Yeah.
was always a rebel, and my mother said about me, "You can lead her all over the world with a string, but don't ever get behind her. Try getting behind her and pushing." My dad never got that. He was very violent. I ran away from home at 16, and pretty much made my way. We're always working from that point on. So, uh, and that's a little bit a personal insight. But I just felt like I did not want anyone speaking for me. I did not. I was perfectly capable of speaking for myself, and I did not want to manipulate people. Uh, I've always understood the value of helping others and helping them get what they want. I hired a woman for my payroll supervisor, my personnel supervisor, for order processing. I really tried to advance the cause of women in the company. And then after I moved back to Oregon, I was so overtrained and overskilled. The only job I could find was in government as an accounting analyst. So I ended up as assistant finance director, and again, our job was to develop systems. So I led both an audit function, an accounting function, and a systems application function. Not the equipment, but the application itself. We were at the forefront of accounting design in with that systems group. We won an IBM Applications Award when the government decided that all government had to change to a double entry bookkeeping system. So we actually created the model for that. That's fun. It's creative, and I that's what I liked about systems. Take a situation or a charge or where someone needs to go, and you build a system to do it. That that translated into different kinds of leadership, and and then I left government, was recruited down to San Diego to run 13 companies. Discovered the boss was a crook, and but one of the highlights of that assignment was one of the companies I ran was in New Orleans, and I had negotiated with bankers who called me little lady, who had never had a woman sitting there as the president of a company. So I was back in the South, and I just smiled. It's what can you do? So so that was another adventure, and that lasted only a year. I found out that that he was a crook, and and had done some pretty shady things, and that I left. I had friends who were in the district attorney, legal attorney business, and they said, "Get out, just get out." When I discovered what was going on, so back to Oregon, U-Haul truck, and two friends with me who had lost their jobs in somewhere. Anyway, we trekked to Oregon, had no money. He refused to pay my expense account that I had run up with the business in New Orleans, and so it was kind of a strange time moving to Portland. The only job I could find there was in oh no, this is where everything turned. That was a turning point when I moved back to Oregon. It's it was all about manifesting
Ah.
as a turning.
So I'm friends, I want to point out something that's resonating a lot with me, and I feel like I want to highlight and make sure that we take a moment and acknowledge this. Uh, the through line and thread of grit in Linda's story, and also an innate trust and belief at the core of her being that she was worthy and she had something to do. And it sounds as though that core belief that you had, Linda, allowed you to notice the allies that were around you, encouraging you, and to focus on the people that encouraged you and supported you instead of listening to the naysayers. Because clearly there were discouraging forces and experiences happening to you as a woman through these eras and chapters, but you had a core belief and a core will and determination to blaze through. And I think young women need to hear that right now. Mature women, all women need to hear that it's okay to blaze through. You don't have to listen to the discouraging narratives. So let's get back to this manifesting. So, like, how did you manifest? Like, you're back in Oregon, and
In Oregon, yeah, with no money, and everything just came. Uh, a very inexpensive apartment, thanks to my ouch. Can you see me?
yeah.
I can't see you. Something just popped in here. Um,
Well, if you can hear me, I'll just say tune into
okay.
Jill.
Are we okay there?
We are totally good.
Yeah.
We are engrossed in your story and anxious to hear
Okay.
how this next chapter plays out.
Okay. The next chapter is I my son. I didn't talk about my first marriage, and my husband was killed by a drunk driver,
Oh,
and I had adopted a baby, and he was by that time when I came back to Oregon, he was ready to graduate high school, and so that was good. And by the time I went back to California with a crook, came back to Oregon with no money. He was in college, and his college was all paid for. I had that all done. But I also, at that time, was freed up. So I became an empty nester in the best way possible. And I was, again, overqualified. I was sending out resumes. This was in 1982, early 1982. I was sending out resumes. I was overqualified for just about everything in Portland at the time. And I had no knowledge of high tech or anything else that was going on in that state. So I went to, after sending out so many resumes, I went to a training, a personal development training on the beach in Monterey. Don't ask me where the money came from. It's like the universe just decided. And I went down with a friend. One of the things that we did, my one of my mentors, Dr. Blanchard, Ray Blanchard, who has a coaching company today that I track, had sent us out on a mission statement. Go walk the beach and visualize what would make your life wonderful. What would make it, what have you always wanted to do and haven't done? So create a vision for yourself, for your future. I did that, and I defined it in, walking the beach, sat on a rock, listened to the waves, and I defined I want something that where it's really responsible, something that help people, something that I did not name anything, something that probably has to do with systems. Of course, my field is in finance, um, and be very specific about your vision, about the timeline. I want it immediately. I want it 3 months from now. I want it a year from now. But be very. He said, be very, very definitive about your timing. And so I did. And we finished up as like a 3 or 4 day training over the weekend. I went back to Oregon. We drove down and back, and it, probably within a week, I got a call from the biggest tech firm in Oregon, Tektronix, 20,000 employees at the time. They had a team that had developed an international accounting system, and when they presented it to the general managers in Europe and Amsterdam, the general managers turned it down. Do you know why they turned it down?
why?
That team did not involve the user. So that team was fired. They had spent $20 million on a failure. That team
Wow.
was fired. A new controller was hired. That new controller was the first Black executive in Tektronix in Oregon. I and then with my interview with him was was wonderful. I went to work for him, and within 6 months, I had put together an international team, someone from every country, plus our own auditing for organization in Tektronix, and I had acceptance from every general manager in Europe. And we proceeded with installation. A month in Canada, a month in France. It was really hard duty, by the way. A month in England, a month everywhere. So that was I had done my job. My boss, the controller, gave me a 5-day respite at the George V in Paris as a bonus. So it was really fun. I had a lot of fun from developing the system with people from MIT to implementing in all these countries. So I really cut my leadership. I took my leadership skills to a different level with that one. And it was leading the team and making it work, involving people. And it turned out that this particular job was what I had manifested.
Oh my gosh.
Now, that's the strength of knowing what you want, what works for you, where you want to go, and being able to define that is something then later I spent a lot of years teaching. How to do mission, vision, values, and the value of involving other people, the value of valuing people. I had one woman on my team. All the European guys were men, and the culture in Germany, they had no women managers. They had women clerks, but I was the only. If you look at some of the pictures I had of the meetings, I was the only woman and the one in charge.
Hmm.
So getting along without giving up who you are is, understanding and respecting others regardless of gender, and not being fearful about it. I was not afraid to speak the truth when it needed to be spoken to, but mostly it was just fun developing
Yeah.
and designing and something that people need. And then I transferred back to Oregon to a different division. So the system, that was a success. The systems were all running well, and I transferred back to a different division in Oregon, where I was head of all systems and marketing and um, all the support systems for a big division. So that was my high tech adventure, and I later did a lot of consulting with high tech executives.
Well, you used a word that's a favorite of mine, and certainly was when I was a teacher, the word specificity. I think that's one of the things I'm going to take away most about this chapter that you talked through, was how important it is to get real specific down to a granular level of what it is that you are trying to manifest or evolve or bring to light. So I love that specificity. And I love that you talked about how important it was to work with people and beyond the get along. It sounds like you were deepening and broadening your leadership skills. And while your story seems seamless from beginning to end, or this midpoint now, were there some challenges that you faced in your developing leadership? Were there some struggles that you had to learn and how to collaborate well with others?
No, because that is something that comes naturally for me, or organizationally, it comes naturally for me, and that's been tested in so many ways, in government, in private sectors, in lots of different industries. We were in the music business, and the company I took public was in the music business. We had recording studios, a lot of there was a lot of what I characterize as sleaze,
Mm.
that that one, could have fallen um, fallen into. There were a lot of, I don't know. It's been an adventure, and I've always felt like I have some kind of guardian angel, but I'm very clear on what works for me and what doesn't, and that started showing up big time in the next few years after that.
Mm.
So because yeah, that was. Does that answer your question, kiddo?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that because I think there are a lot of women that who have your level of confidence, and somehow I don't want to say indoctrinated, but there is a habit sometimes that women have of dismissing their confidence or dismissing their power, or standing squarely in their truth. And I want our friends to hear that, like, if you live in that truth and that confidence, unleash it. It is a superpower. And you had a perfect storm of not allowing negative self-talk to disrupt what you knew you could do. Um, so at what point did this switch into the real estate?
Well, let me go back very quickly to address something you just said.
Mhm.
In my first few years in Oregon culminated in the late 60s, no, the late 70s. I don't know, late 60s. I lose track of time. Um, I went through a life changing experiences, and including a divorce, including also not knowing, quitting my job at government, the financial officer in government. I went through probably 3 to 4 months of personal development. And those are the years of Life Spring, of S, and I lived in Eugene, and it was the woo woo capital of the universe, next to Austin, of course. And and we were all kind of going through finding ourselves. There were a lot of things in my life that I felt did not work as well as I wanted them to. And I remember very clearly two different occasions. One of them standing on stage, and someone and the trainer saying to me, "You have to take, I know you've been hurt. I know that you had a violent childhood. I know all those things, and you're not using them as an excuse. However, you are guarding your heart, and you need to take the chains off your heart. And when you bring your heart into alliance with your head, congruence, you will be unstoppable." I That was my heart. From then on, I pretty much was. I I it scared. It was scary, but you, I remained anchored in my heart. I
Hmm.
was very smart, brilliant, some might say. Uh, logical. I could design so many things, but my heart gave me the the care, gave me the notion of caring for others and how much I could help. The
Hmm.
second event in that same sequence was Dr. Blanchard, who said to me, "You you are not succeeding at the level that you really could because you feel like you don't deserve it." That was one of the most powerful experiences in my life.
Gosh, that's so helpful to hear. I really resonate with your honesty and authenticity of I was scared and I didn't feel like I deserved it. I think a lot of us feel, like we're not always prepared for success or opportunities to manifest in the way that they do, and all sorts of behavior unfolds from that. So um, that's helpful to know that thoughts of I'm scared and I'm not worthy are feelings that others have had, while also with grit blazing through it, standing up in your truth and
Yeah.
navigating a way out.
Coming from a Southern family with a violent father who settled everything violently,
Mm,
having bundles of switches
mm,
used up on my legs out in front of the whole neighborhood. From that to, I'm kind of happy with today. At the Jill, many women go through that, especially women in my generation. Younger women uh, are sometimes too protective, too guarded, and I understand why. Um, and just being in a company that we are that has so many women executives, it's exciting. Now, and I found that with real estate. So very quickly, I can move into real estate because when I left, um, I was okay. I was in high tech, 1987. I was recruited. I was also president of the public broadcasting board. I integrated that board with a black man, wonderful fellow accountant actually. And then when he turns out that he was assistant to this beautiful African American woman who was running for chair of the county board. Multnomah County is the largest county in the state of Oregon, 4,700 employees. When she was elected, he recruited me out of Tectonics to head up a 330 person the support group that supported all of budgeting, um, elections, assessment, taxation. 330 people with I had 11 divisions. So he recruited me into that. And 4 years later, I used some current technology called um, Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I used that technology I was hired to modernize county government. That was in the newspaper. So I used the technology, the current technology. Stephen Covey had just published his book to change that. 1991, I left government and became a full-time trainer and consultant. That was 11 years. After that, a pretty high profile consultant, coach. I was asked to speak at the Women's MBA Associations at University of Oregon, blah, blah, blah. A lot of different honors and testifying to the legislature. I love, 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 love all of that.
mm.
So that, my last three consulting clients, this is after I ran Y2K compliance for the state of Oregon for the governor, out of the governor's office. That was my last project for the state. And then I went God, I don't even remember what year it was. Anyway, 1991, I went into consulting. 11 years later, the dot-com bust.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people, especially in Austin, remember that one. But
Oh yeah, we hear stories about it.
oh yeah. So that was, and so I basically said, huh, um, I was, my clients had all disappeared. All training money and consulting money dried up during that dot-com bust. The A lot of other financial institutions were going down. It was kind of awful. This was in 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. I took about a 6 month sabbatical from my consulting business. And then I thought, oh, I wonder what I can do. Oh, I know. I can stay self employed by getting my real estate license. I, I never sold residential real estate in my life. And so I got my license and I placed it with Coldwell Banker. I knew, which is kind of the only company I knew about because I had classes with them at getting my commercial license in California. So I joined it and I went, huh. So we're supposed to do with the, I thought I was self-employed, but here I am. The brokers telling everybody what to do and what they can and can't do. That's interesting. So I just started looking around. I met um, an agent. We had I by the way, did over $5 million in my first year. So, or I'm sorry, yeah, more than that. But um, I was rookie of the year. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was good with people. I acted like a consultant, not like a,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my idea of how to help people, and that's really it really satisfied that particular emotion. But anyway, I started talking with another agent. They said, I wanted a business. She said, have you ever heard of a company called Keller Williams? I said, no. And she said, I'm hearing about them, and I'm thinking that they seem like what you described as a good company, where they're more agent centric. They have a lot of training and development. I said, if they have training and development, I'm in. I'm going to go. So I did not want to be an agent with them. What I wanted to do was run one of their companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up as a as bringing the first Keller Williams office to the state of Oregon. And by the way, one of my agents' groups was a guy called Glenn Sanford. He was in my office. He had an
Wow.
he
And
had an
I like,
expansion.
and I'm still like thinking, my gosh, what a career of experiences you had when you finally got into real estate. So that's mind blowing right there. And to think all of that wealth is now knowledge, leadership is sitting, in this new career, inspiring the next generation of realtors, which indeed it did. So Glenn Sanford, founder of founder of EXP Realty, is your
And
first office.
by the way, Glenn just sent me the nicest video for my birthday. And he talked about how a lot of the way things that we did in that office formed the basis of EXP. When he in 2009, when he put the first signs up for EXP, um, I often wonder what would have happened if I had sold my interest in that first office and joined him then. I could travel the world like Gertrude does. Or so anyway, it was I'd probably be the retired CFO by now. But anyway, that was the first office. I was the team leader. I won the recruiting award the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward, I bought another franchise in 2005. I think I sent you some information on that.
Mm-hmm.
In 2000, so I just kept growing. Real estate's just another business for me. It's I did not share the background of many of my agents, but I wanted to run it like a company that cared about people.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than the way, I don't think, the way that a realtor broker, whatever, enters into relationship with their clients.
Yeah.
That it's one of the most scariest and most important and significant, financially significant um, situations that has in their lifetime. And
Yeah.
how do we make it easier for people? I mean, I'm certified in change and transition technology. I spent years teaching it and coaching it. And it's another, the change is just, here's a belief I have: change is an event. It can change. You know, one night we're married, the next day we're divorced. I mean, that change happens. It's an event.
Mm-hmm.
But the transition through it is a psychological process
Mm.
that has a lot of scary things going on in it. So it's our job to help people transition into new property, new houses,
Mm-hmm.
new legal obligations.
That's the consultative approach. So
Absolutely.
now you've been in real estate for more than 20 years, serving lots of different roles in this industry. And you're coaching and inspiring, yet again, the next generation of leaders and trainers and agents and influencers. So, how, as a coach, how are you, and consultant, how are you bringing all of this experience uh, to the work that you do with clients, as we're facing seismic shifts in our profession and our industry? What is your hope for the future of not only our industry but female leaders? What are some lasting words that you might like to leave with this day and our listeners and our community? I know it's a lot because you packed a lot in.
I
But I mean, like I will say, Linda is inspiring me daily. I'm learning about new things. She's a good, constant, gentle whisperer of new information, like fierce conversations and encouragement. You know, do
yeah,
you have
don't
any
don't
parting
be
words
afraid.
of wisdom
Don't
for?
be afraid to be vulnerable.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and because only in vulnerability can you let other people in. And we work every day with sometimes heartbreaking situations,
Mm,
sometimes happy situations. It runs the real estate agent eh, runs the gamut of emotions. I I think. I mean, I don't know if that's a true statement or not, but the agents, the hundreds of agents that I recruited and led in when I was active in that, they seem to resonate by it. Find a mentor and make sure you have a great support system. One of the things that intrigued me about the Women's Impact Network is a support system that we can provide. The ones of us who are, um, let's say I'm on the downside of our lives. It's my legacy here. I think I've said that several times, and I'm not even sure sometimes what it means, except that so you show up asking me to do this. That's
mhm, mhm.
part of that's part of imparting and communicating a legacy. But be authentic. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Get outside your comfort zone. I mean, only growth happens outside that comfort zone. I've spent most of my life outside my comfort zone.
Mm,
And if I get too comfortable in it, I go do something else. Um, Continue to challenge the mentor, the support system, other women who believe in you. I have a friend that I met through some conflict in government in, oh my God, 1974. She was just here helping arrange my 90th birthday party. We have been friends for that long. Create lasting relationships.
Mm,
Care about your clients. Get to know them. Sometimes there's not time, but women are uniquely qualified, I believe, to be a helping expert with families that are in transition,
mm-hmm.
in difficult situations, who might be remote and they're counting on you. I I don't care. I just care. I guess just care about it, and that's something that I've taken into. I have very few situations where I did not have a team, and I teach team building in real estate, and it's all about loyalty. I did not allow in my market centers. I did not allow gossip, rumors. I did not allow discourtesy. I actually I did not allow a lack of integrity. And of
Mm,
all things that are important to me, it's integrity.
yeah.
And so in fact, I let my biggest team, number one team, go because of an integrity issue.
Mm,
There's no money worth your conscience or your
yeah.
reputation. No one incident is worth it. So always be confident in your own ability to survive and thrive.
Mm. Well, Linda, I want you to know that in the time that I've had the privilege of serving with you, I have felt many of the things that you just shared. I have felt the caring, I have felt the encouragement and the lifting up and the encouragement of integrity and listening and to acknowledge that things are scary, but it's going to be okay to walk through the field. And we can do that together. So I am immensely grateful for you carving out time with me today to share this full story. Y'all, I didn't know all these details about Linda. I mean, I knew many of the tidbits, but um, perspective is changed. And this is why I think there is such power in taking the time to hear and capture and document stories, because through stories, we as human beings, we anchor so much of our world in stories, our beliefs and our discouragements and our hopes and our fears, so very much in stories. So if this conversation inspired you today, if you have an interest in learning more from Linda and I about the Women's Impact Network, and the movement and the mission that we're on to support and lift up and empower women and our male allies. Um, we encourage you. Our information for our organization is going to be in the thread here, how you can connect with us. And if you yourself want to capture a story, or if you know someone who you think we should capture and lift up their story, we'd love for you to reach out to us so that we can continue to build a legacy of women's stories that we can all anchor and gain support and encouragement from. So again, Linda, thank you so very, very much for this time today, for your trust in me, for your fearless grit. My goodness. That's gonna encourage me for a long time. If
Thank
Linda
you.
did it, I can
Thank
do it too.
Yeah. Take care.
So I needed to hear that story today, and thank you.
All we have as women in the ancient world were stories, and if we can just keep bringing those down, saying our truth, speaking to power, and also make sure to ask for support when you need it.
100%. Well,
Yeah.
let's go spread some more legacy, Linda. We're going to find more stories, lift more stories up, and onward we go, my friend. We'll be back in the next legacy cast with more stories to share. So have a great one, everyone. Thanks so very much. Love you, Linda. Love you, sister. Bye
Thank you.
bye.